welcome back to Synergy Bonus. A bunch of guys sit around, talk about gaming while drinking. Or just gaming in general, and then drinking. Or drinking without gaming.
I'm out of water. Oh. Hey, so tonight we are going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We waited on this one for a little bit. Unlike most games that come out recently, I powered through this one when it came out.
To the point where he missed a whole bunch of side stuff.
Of course I did.
Just like with the last Xenoblade games, view our previous video.
So I had to wait for him to finish it, and he finished it, and then there was time constraints. So we're getting to it now, but I'm glad we're getting to it because I really enjoyed this game. Once again, this is Monolith Soft.
Monolith Soft is a developer published by Nintendo, released on the Nintendo Switch. It was actually part of their agreement that it would be released early in the life cycle of the Nintendo Switch. This actually, it was interesting the way it was planned out. It had a universal release date, so it didn't matter if you were in Japan or Europe or Australia. Or it all came out in December, actually December 1st of 2017, just in time for Christmas.
Yep. And it was a great December for me because I spent a lot of time playing this game.
I didn't get it till Christmas, so, it was a great January. Helped take my mind off the election year. Anyhow, this is the third game in the Xenoblade Metaverse, Metaseries.
It's part of the Xeno series loosely. I mean, they're trying to tie it all together.
Yeah, but these three games, you get Xenoblade Chronicles...
Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. X went a different path, and they decided, well, we're going to go back to this route like we did with the first game.
X went a very open, sandboxy, Skyrim-y kind of world, because that's what was popular at the time, and the fan base from the first Xenoblade Chronicles went, what the fuck is this shit?
That's me. I never finished it. I didn't play actually more than 2-3 hours
Which
into
is
the game.
well, okay, a lot of people played more than that, but the majority thing is, well, we didn't finish it because it doesn't really have an end. It's an open-world sandbox game. I mean, it does have a final boss and an end, but... we're not talking about that today. So yeah, Monolith Soft first, a third game in the
third game in the series, second one in the numbered series.
Yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, just Xenoblade 2 in Japan.
The story follows a boy named Rex and a world that actually has lost its, in
a world covered by endless ocean.
Or cloud sea in this one. And kind of following suit from the first Xenoblade, there are creatures known as Titans in this where people have begun living on. Kind of like
to the Bionis and the
Mechanis. Yep. And Rex is living on one of his own little Titans.
A smaller Titan. A personal Titan, if you will.
And I love him. He is a great character.
Gramps. He's the cranky old man of the group. It's phenomenal.
I love it.
Yeah. Anytime you need the gruff, get off my lawn, in which case is actually my back, old timer. Yeah. He's snarky. He's grumpy. He's wonderful.
In the grand scheme of things, the Titans are dying, and there is a world tree. And it said that if you climb to the top of the world tree, you will meet the architect who created the world and be able to... The best way I could describe is save the planet, so to speak.
Save humanity and the other derivative races. There's the idea that there's this mythical place called Elysium up there where there's going to be room for everybody and they won't have to fight over space on Titans anymore, and people will be able to sit down and farm, and they won't be subject to the whims of these living creatures that they live on anymore. And there's no monsters up there because there are monsters abundantly on all the Titans, and it's this beautiful, perfect, peaceful place.
And I'm going to take the time right now to throw up a spoiler warning. It hasn't been out for a full year, so spoilers. There's going to be
this video is going to be full of them.
Spoilers. This was one of those games, very much like the original Xenoblade, where the story kind of took some turns. This one was a little more direct than the first one was, but there was still some what the fuck moments.
Go ahead.
The first what the fuck moment for me is actually right at the beginning of your chapter 1. Rex goes to this guild looking for work He actually gets hired on.
Specifically, tell us, what does Rex do?
Rex is a diver.
And that means?
He's a salvager.
Correct.
And he dives into the Cloud Sea for salvage, and he sells. And actually, he's selling
whatever junk he could find at the bottom.
Pay for his hometown.
Yep, he's sending money back to his hometown, which is very noble for one. He's supposed to be like, 14?
Well, he's very young.
Yeah. But he has a personal rule if he uncovers any military salvage, because the world is in the state it is based on an ancient war. He throws it back in. He wants nothing to do with it. Although there's an interesting philosophical point that's brought up later on that it's all military salvage, Rex. every valve, every nozzle, every hinge you pull up, that still gets put into the warships. Just because you issue the weapons doesn't mean you're not feeding the war machine.
Mm-hmm. So he gets contracted on to do this salvaging.
Particularly difficult salvage mission.
And there are entities in this game known as blades. They come from items called core crystals. And not everyone can summon a blade.
Okay, when a normal person touches a core crystal, it has one of two effects. The initial effect, the preferred effect, is that it summons this entity called a blade, which may be a common blade, which is one of, I think, 6 generic body type, structure, facial stripe things with an elemental thing and some basic abilities, which will make up the bulk of what you get throughout the game. Or it may be a rare blade, which has a distinctive individual look and personality and abilities. Also, they come with their own side quests, but more on that later. And wherever you were.
Okay, so Rex actually at this point in time doesn't have a blade. And he's going with these crew that does. Shortly into the mission, Rex is betrayed. He's told not to touch.
He's told not to touch something, and he clumsily falls into it and touches it.
So without hesitation, they kill him on the spot.
This is your main character, by the way.
First hour or so into the game, your main character's dead.
If it took you an hour to get this far, you're terrible.
I'm just saying, within the first hour.
It's within the first 20 minutes.
It's still within the first hour. There's cutscenes.
Yeah.
So he wakes up in what he believes to be Elysium. And there is a girl standing by a tree. And she's like, this is Elysium. And it's like, well, I can do this. I can help you. I can save. Because she wants to get to Elysium in the real world. But he can't do anything because he's dead. So you discover that
it's got that very weird, I'm dead, am I in heaven kind of moment going on? Yeah.
Discover that she is a blade, and she actually gives part of her core crystal to him to bring him back to life.
Brings him back up,
and he becomes her driver. A character who wields a blade, which it's so weird to say because they're a real person, but they are tied to a weapon. They're called drivers.
Although not all of them are bladed weapons. There's a whole hammer class that I hate.
It's true. And balls and guns and all that fun stuff.
You don't like wielding the balls?
I don't.
You handle the balls not very well?
I don't handle the balls. Blitzbally.
Bitball.
So, and, right off the bat, they're like, he's alive, we need to... And then shit just hits the fan. Like, pretty hard. Like, you hit the ground running at this point. Gramps comes in and saves you. And, like... the interaction, and the girl that he meets, her name is Pyra. I don't know if I mentioned that. Her name is Pyra. And, you see them working in tandem right off the bat, and you can see that they have a good chemistry with each other. You see them fighting and whatnot. Like I said, Gramps comes and saves you.
A little Deus Ex Dragona.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, Gramps is injured at this point in time. He crash lands on...
Oh, please don't spoil this part. It's such a big moving kind of thing.
He crash lands on a Titan, and the cutscene ensues.
Stuff happens.
Okay, I won't spoil it, even though he said spoilers.
I know, but it's such a big thing. It happens, and I was like, no, and no.
And the game plays out very much like a traditional RPG.
I didn't think so at all.
Well,
Well, traditional action RPG. When you say traditional RPG, I think turn-based combat.
Right.
And there's none of that in
And
this.
we're gonna get into the combat here. But basically, Rex goes on his way.
Adventure happens.
He meets a colorful cast of characters, and to get to the overall goal of Elysium. There's some neat stuff that happens. I really want to talk about it, but I really shouldn't, because it's something that you should experience yourself.
Yeah, that's the bigger problem. It's not just, this
I want to
it's just
I want to
the emotional
spoil it,
impact.
and I feel like I would be doing a disservice, actually.
This is why I usually limit him to talking about old games.
So we're going to kind of stop on the story there. We might reference a little bit here.
Well, that and there's another 120 hours worth of story. We'd be here all night.
I want to talk about the graphics. I mean, the graphics are...
It's a beautiful game.
Beautiful. And I'm going to put a picture up here to show you the difference between the initial concept, or the initial development, I shouldn't say concept, the initial development to release, and the graphical difference is amazing.
It's also kind of unique looking in the trilogy. The previous two games had gone for not a hyper-realistic, but a pseudo-realistic look.
And this goes to
It ended up looking really stiff, and you started getting very uncanny valley. And the design team at Monolith realized this, and they're like, that's not what we want to go for. So they deliberately made the choice to make this more anime style, and went out or set out to design the characters to have much more expressive faces. And it works. It looks so much better. It's such a warm and inviting world. You just want to get in there and run around and have a cup of tea with Pyra. The generosity.
Yep. It's a gorgeous... Hi, Ovelia. Are we neglecting you?
It's bright. It's colorful. Some of the custom blades, because they brought in a whole bunch of guest artists, don't quite fit.
Mainly the Torna blades.
That was... I'll get to that. I meant things like Boreas.
Boreas, yeah, he looks odd.
Yeah, he's very out of place.
But, because this is the Xeno series,
what the...
KOS-MOS
KOS-MOS is there?
She looks pretty blade, good. And she looks very well. She looks like she did in Xenosaga.
I was thinking the legendary blade that's sealed in the temple...
the dangerous one?
The dangerous one. She looks a little out of place because she's kind of like piloting a dragon mech. Her color palette is very subdued compared to, for example, the crazy girl with seashells in her hair riding around in a flying bathtub. It's a weird game.
Yes, it's very weird. And it's got your tropes. It's got your pervy characters. It's got your schoolgirl fetish. This game has a lot of eye candy, a lot. It's like, this is on a Nintendo system.
The weirdest part was the sexy robots.
I'm just thinking about Nia late game.
Oh yeah.
There is not a lot to fill that gap.
That's not just a joke about her bust size.
Oh. But yes, this game it's very pretty. Yep. The artwork for the characters is phenomenal. Everyone is very uniquely designed, and they stand out as a main character should.
And even some of the major villains really stand out and are super memorable. Coming back around to Torna. You were mentioning they're a terrorist organization within the setting, and they're interesting because they were designed by a guest artist that they brought in from Squeenix, Tetsuya Nomura, because he'd heard the lead designer on this apparently is Japanese famous. He's big in Japan, and he came hat in hand, basically begging to be let on as a guest artist for this. And they did. And, it's great because it gave a little more star power and all that. But the Torna terrorists...
You can tell that they're square
characters. They're square characters. They don't quite fit with the rest of the universe. They look a little off. And it actually sort of heightens the feeling of them being other, which comes into play as a plot point later on. Yep. So it ends up working even though they look a little off. The controls for this game are... very tight. I've noticed, depending on which character you have in the lead, there's a very minimal sort of ice skating with some of the characters.
I don't think I ever noticed it, but I probably... I understand where Trav's coming from. I have experienced this in other games.
But I mean, beyond that, the overworld exploration, it's an RPG. You walk up to stuff, you push A. There is some elements of platforming involved in exploring the overworld because they made it a very three-dimensional environment. So sometimes you'll be like jumping up boxes to get to the top of something in a warehouse, or climbing a ladder and jumping across rooftops, or
going to a certain time of day, sliding down something and jumping off something to get there. You know what I'm talking about.
Getting through a whole bunch of areas and then sitting there waiting for a certain time of day for a specific monster to spawn, only to have it kick your ass, so you have to do it all over again.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Jeez. And then in certain Titans, they've got tides, so it may be the right time of day, but the tide might be in the wrong position. Or one of the most obnoxious ones, they also added weather elements. This doesn't really play into controls, but it's a thing.
For certain story events.
There's a side quest, story event, where you're supposed to prove that you can out-salvage the salvage kit. And you have to go to this one Titan during a specific type of weather and use a specific type of incredibly rare, hard-to-find cylinder to get the specific piece of salvage for him to put on display in his throne room. And it's just...
Going back to the controls, combat is very smooth. It starts slow. It does. It starts very slow. But as you get
I think it remains slow, but that's a difference in our
I felt like it sped up, especially with the way you can combo and chain things and switch to your other blades, because you're allowed to, by endgame, equip 3 blades, and each blade has 3 abilities and a 4th elemental ability.
Monolith very loosely built the combat system for this off the existing combat system that they had for Xenoblade Chronicles 1. There's a lot of remnants of what Shulk and Rain and company would do.
Topple, and...
So you've got that same sort of chain of, he stuns him, then I topple him, then the next person launches him, and then the other person smashes him. So that sort of mentality and strategy is still in there. But it changed up a little bit because you don't have the same set characters. You have a rotating menu of who's the blade of the week at this point in time.
I was pretty comfortable with my side of blades for the most part. Trav's like, gotta get this one, gotta get this one, gotta get this one, gotta get this one.
Well, I discovered early on,
Trav is very
each of the rare blades has a personalized custom story and side quest. That you have to use the blade and unlock their abilities in order to unlock the side quests. And some of them unlock low in their talent trees, and some of them unlock very high in their talent trees. And I like stories, so I was unlocking every single rare blade that I could get.
And I just went, main story.
And so he missed a lot.
So what else we got to talk about?
The music.
I love this game soundtrack. I love this game soundtrack. I am still looking for a copy to purchase, because if you got the collector's edition, like this guy did, it comes with a sound sampling, and the sound samples are great. I want the entire soundtrack, because there are some tracks not included in the sound sampling that I wish were, like Zeke's theme. Zeke's theme is great.
Eye of Shining Justice!
The battle themes are great. It's got a vocal.
It's no Blue Dragon.
They actually did a real music video for one of the songs here, and I'll put a link down below to watch. It's actually really kind of neat. It's it's a choir piece.
Yes, it's a choir piece. They brought in a few different choirs for this. The one that he's referencing is a piece by the Bratislava Symphony Choir. Bratislava! Heels on the ground, friends all around. Heels up high, torn a spy.
Torn a spy.
Yes. Yes. Would you prefer Imperial?
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, it's neat to see that. Oh, now you're putting lyrics in. And there's a vocal ending track, and
put together by the Irish Chamber Choir. I probably am mangling this because my Gaelic is terrible, but Anuna? Anuna, please, if you know how to pronounce it, correct us. Anuna, I think.
And just there's the daytime, there's the nighttime.
No, Anuna didn't do the ending piece. That was what's her name? Her surname's Bird. She's from a group called Two Birds.
One Stone. I don't know.
Anyhow,
but like there's daytime, there's nighttime music. It's I love it. It follows very
every
much.
zone has its own daytime, nighttime music.
It follows very much like the first Xenoblade did, and by the time the credits rolled and that vocal piece came out, I was just so invested in that ending. That ending is over a half hour long.
Yes, it is. And I was actually kind of annoyed by it because you had this. No spoilers. I'm not gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it.
It was to me it was worth it. Because you kind of get that final resolution, and after the credits roll, you get that little last bit. And
little last bit of all of that heart-wrenching stuff and the tough decisions that they just made in the last hour, undone. It didn't matter. It was pointless.
All right, I'm gonna spoil the shit out of this right now. I'm sorry, and I'm not gonna really say it's like the big thing. Another big thing about this game is memories. And when a blade
dies.
when a driver dies, the blade goes back to the core crystal.
Blades are functionally immortal, but not.
When they go back to the core crystal, they lose all set of memories. So that's the big question that's left at the end of the game, is do they still have their memories?
I'm also still burnt that Zeke didn't wind up with Morag.
That is a little bitter, because if you watch the interaction between those two...
Keep the two of them in your party and their banter and all that. There's a lot of tension there, and in the end, Zeke chooses someone else, or is chosen by someone else.
It's a great game, and I really wish I could spoil the shit out of this more, but I can't. I can't in good conscience do it.
It would be a disservice to anybody
It would
who
be a
hasn't played
disservice. Maybe we'll revisit this, go a little more in-depth into the story, into those spoilers and everything. But it was a fantastic ride. It kept me engaged from beginning to end. And
not engaged enough to do the side quests, but
no, because I'm right to there. I was engaged in the main plot. And that's saying something for me, because with a lot of the newer games,
gaming ADHD.
If I'm not super invested into it, something new came out, we're done with this. We're never touching that again. What are you playing again? Mega Man X. What are you playing again? Rocket Knight. What are you playing? I'm playing Ninja Gaiden.
You know what all those games have in common?
They're all...
You can beat them in about an hour.
It's true. It is true. But I've also beaten Chrono Trigger like 20 times. I've beaten Tactics like 20 times. I beat those games on a regular basis.
Statistical outliers.
So, I mean, it's saying something. Especially with an RPG, because some RPGs, they start strong and they fall flat. This one, to me, kept me engaged, where Xenoblade Chronicles X did not.
That's because Xenoblade Chronicles X, as previously established, was not driven by plot.
And you make your character in that game.
Correct.
Whereas this one is a pre-established character. And again, this is very much like the first Xenoblade. You don't have to have your main character in there. I chose to because I kind of liked his moveset. That's why I did it.
All of the other characters in the game are built with... Because each one, even though they're having the same weapons, be it the Chroma Katana or the spear or the hammer, they each wield them a little bit differently. And all of the other characters' movesets are built around the idea that you're going to have Rex in there as the keystone to your strategy. As such, it's much more difficult to build up chain attacks if you don't have Rex in your party. I still managed it because, much like Shulk, I found Rex to be an obnoxious little manlet and didn't use him a whole lot. But
I do want to point out one last spoiler before we end here. This game...
Tora is, in fact, the hero pun.
He is the hero pun. This game is actually taking place...
Geez, the Tora diving mini game. Fuck that shit.
This game takes place at the same time as the first Xenoblade. They are running parallel to each other.
Which was a really neat little Easter egg.
It really was. And, I'll include a little video here to kind of show you what that entailed.
It's too dangerous! Professor, no! The results have not been confirmed! It's too dangerous!
Ridiculous! It's perfectly safe! We are about to bear witness to the birth of a universe! It's perfectly safe. We are about to bear witness to the birth of a universe! Once, only a god could perform such a miracle. But today, mankind moves one step closer to the divine! Once, only a god could perform such a miracle. But today, mankind moves one step closer to the divine.
Stop, Klaus!
And with that being said, I think this, between Xenoblade 1 and Xenoblade 2, it was a very complete story. Both the games. Very complete. And I like the fact that they're tied in together. And when I beat this game, I kind of walked around my house, what am I going to do now? And I know what Travis said. You should go back and do the side quests.
Go back and do the side quests. Unlock the stuff with the other characters. There were some great moving emotional moments. There were some phenomenal comedic moments, and all this stuff you missed because you powered through the main quest.
Hey, I learned that Gorg has a thing for food, and that was
not nearly as much of a thing for food as Boreas has.
Right. Final thoughts?
Gorg was awful.
Gorg is my boy.
He's just this goofy,
swimmer type,
goonish looking swimmer that you're. Yeah, just no. Gorg was ugly. No.
Any final thoughts aside from Pyra and Mithra just really being eye candy? There's a lot of eye candy.
It was actually there was a bit of a scandal in the character design thing when the American players and parents and so on found out that a lot of the character designs were done by artists who had some issues of hentai in their repertoire, and Japanese designers and players and all that were like, yeah, that's kind of normal for a JRPG. Why are you having a cow?
Right. And if you really think about it, at the end of the day, it's still art. Regardless of the connotation of it, it's still artwork. Yes, there might be tentacles involved, but it's still art. How pretty are those tentacles?
There were some tentacles involved in this. But yeah, so there's a lot of borderline not safe for work costumes with these characters. We already mentioned Nia's end of game.
And the Switch is on the go, so...
Yeah. So, if you've got a young male in your household playing with this, he may disappear into his room with some of the character stills for some time. But, no, I mean, aside from that, I don't really think I can get into any more final thoughts without getting crazy spoilery.
I have a list of like my top 10 games. This made it onto the list. It bumped something else out. I'll have to go through my top 10.
I do think maybe we should do like a separate video at some point in time going over some of the individual blades and their quirks.
I agree.
Like we could sit here and argue about rock for hours, I'm sure.
Yep.
But that's another.
We will definitely return to this. We'll talk more about story stuff, maybe in the future. But like Trav said, talk about the blades and stuff like that.
Yep.
For me, 5 out of 5 spoonies, as Trav says.
Yeah. No, I'd give it a solid 5 spoons. It's a damn fine game.
It is a damn fine game,
as we often say.
And I'm looking forward to the next installment, if there is one.
If I have any complaint, it's just that the combat didn't fit my playstyle. So I found a lot of times where I'm trying to get off a combo, so I'm sitting there waiting where my character auto attacks slowly over and over again, so it builds up the charge meter so that I can pull off the next bit of the combo. And oh, never mind, I missed it. It took him so long to charge with his slow ass auto attack that I have to start over again.
I never had that issue. But that's... Trev and I play games very differently.
Very.
But with that, good night!
And good gaming. Hey guys, Vigorex here. If you like what you heard, go ahead and give us a little thumbs up with the like icon down below.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a comment. And if you want to watch a different video, click over here.
And always, as always, good night and good gaming.